In the 16th century, two men began recording words no human had ever spoken. They claimed it wasn't their own invention, but a gift from angels, a strange melodic language, the Enochian language. And they believed it could do more than just summon angels. It could open portals to other worlds. But what exactly did they discover? And why have so many modern magicians sworn by its power centuries later? They called this language angelical, not as a metaphor but as a fact. A language not born of earth but given, delivered through crystal visions and divine whispers. Dr. John Dee believed it was the very first language, the primal tongue spoken by Adam in Eden before shame had a name, before language splintered and fell from the Tower of Babel like shattered glass. This was no ordinary script. It was the language of angels, the speech of light. The Enochian language was unlike anything ever recorded. It had its own alphabet, a grammar as alien as it was beautiful. Words so phonetically strange they seemed to resonate beyond sound, like incantations burned into the air. This wasn't a language meant for conversation. It was a key to higher dimensions. But how exactly did they receive this language? It began in 1582, when two men dared to speak with the divine. Dr. John Dee, the Queen's trusted mathematician and advisor, and Edward Kelley, a mysterious alchemist with the gaze of one who'd seen beyond the veil, didn't merely believe in angels. They invited them. In a dimly lit room in Mortlake, the air heavy with incense and the weight of intent, a polished crystal sphere rested like an eye upon the table. This was the shoe stone, the portal through which the unseen would speak. Edward Kelley, seated before it, would fall into silence, his gaze fixed, his breath slow. Time, for him, would begin to blur. And then, visions. Kelley would describe what he saw in real time, often in a trance-like cadence. Brilliant angelic forms appearing in blinding light, figures bearing scrolls, symbols, and strange sigils that shimmered before his inner sight. Sometimes the angels moved their mouths but made no sound. Other times their voices thundered within his mind, reciting syllables in a language neither Latin nor Hebrew nor Greek, but something far older, something primal. Dee sat beside him, pen in hand, scribbling furiously, for hours, for days, for years. The words that spilled from Kelley's lips, he believed, were not his own. They belonged to celestial intelligences, gatekeepers of realms hidden between the folds of existence, and they had come with a mission to rebuild the bridge between man and angel. Dee and Kelley weren't simply decoding messages, they were receiving a system, a sacred technology designed to realign the human soul with the divine order. Every letter, every word was said to be charged with the vibration of higher planes. To speak it was to awaken something ancient. To write it was to pull geometry from heaven. And to understand it, if that was even possible, was to hold a mirror to creation itself. From these sessions emerged something extraordinary, a labyrinth of texts unlike anything the world had seen. Among them, the 5 books of mystery, a coded map of the invisible universe. Pages layered with cryptic symbols, ritual instructions, invocations and riddles that only revealed their meaning under intense spiritual focus. But there was one book that stood apart, Book of Loagaeth, the book of the speech of God. 49 massive tables, each a perfect square of 49 by 49 letters, an impossible geometry, a celestial lattice. Every letter dictated, they claimed, by beings who stood outside of time. These were not idle visions. They were instructions, coordinates, portals. Dee believed this language, what he called the celestial speech, or the first language of God Christ, was none other than the primal tongue spoken in Eden, the one Adam used to name creation, a language not meant for the mundane world, but one that commanded it. Unlike Latin, Greek, or Hebrew, Enochian did not evolve. It descended. With its own grammar, syntax, and alphabet, it stood alone, untouched by time, yet alive with power. Dee's journals, now tucked away in manuscripts like Sloane MS 3188, are more than historical curiosities. They are roadmaps, not just to a system of magic, but to a state of being. A state where the veil grows thin and the soul remembers that it was never truly separate from the divine. In a time when science and spirit danced on the same breath, Dee and Kelley reached for the forbidden. And what they pulled back was not just a language, but a ladder between worlds. But language was only the beginning. What emerged alongside it was a blueprint, a magical system so complex, so structured, that it defied the chaotic image most associated with the occult. This was not chaos. This was architecture, cosmic, celestial, alive. At the heart of it all was the Great Table, or tabula racensa, a vast grid divided into 4 elemental tablets: earth, air, fire, water, each tablet a portal, each cell a doorway. They were inscribed with the names of spiritual intelligences, some harmonious, others fierce, all powerful. This table wasn't a diagram, it was a spiritual map, calibrated to the forces of the universe. Then came the 48 angelical keys, or calls. These weren't prayers, they were commands. Delivered in the Enochian tongue, these keys were recited to open gateways between realms. Not metaphorical realms. Actual energetic spheres, known as the 30 Aethyrs. Each ether was said to correspond to a level of consciousness, a dimensional layer of reality stacked like crystal domes around the earth. To call an ether was to pierce the veil and summon its governing forces into awareness. But opening these gates required more than words. It required alignment, ritual precision. That's where the Sigillum Dei Imeth came in, a mysterious wax disc inscribed with divine names and sacred geometry. Placed beneath the shoe stone, it served as a celestial seal, a boundary between the physical and the divine, a protective eye, a keyhole to eternity. Surrounding it, the holy table, an altar designed not by human imagination, but by angelic instruction. Every inch measured, every symbol exact. It wasn't simply furniture, it was a staging ground for revelation. Alongside it were other tools, candlesticks, ring, rod, and the layman. Each infused with specific purposes, each a conduit for celestial communication. Altogether, these components formed a technology of spirit, a divine interface. But here's the unsettling part. Dee and Kelley were not always in control. They often confessed fear, confusion, even terror at what they encountered. The angels were not all gentle. Some came bearing beauty, others warnings. Some offered light, others demanded obedience. Yet the system was complete. A puzzle carved from the higher dimensions, delivered piece by piece through a mirror and a voice in trance. A language to awaken the sleeping soul. A ritual to navigate unseen currents. And a path, though dangerous, to reach the source. This was not just a magical practice, it was a living structure, a tower built not to reach God, but to return to Him. And somewhere in the spaces between those 48 calls, those 49 tables, and that angelic tongue, a portal still waits. Enochian magic did not vanish with Dee's final breath. For centuries it slumbered, buried in dusty manuscripts, whispered about in secret, misunderstood by most. But mysteries like this have a strange gravity. They pull at the minds of those who hunger for hidden truths. And in the twilight of the 19th century, the system awoke again. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, an influential occult society, unearthed Dee and Kelley's forgotten work and breathed new life into it. They recognized what others had missed, that this was no fragmented relic. It was a complete and unparalleled magical architecture. From these sacred ashes rose figures like Aleister Crowley, who didn't just study Enochian magic, he entered it. He traversed the 30 Aethyrs, documented visions that defied language, and emerged with his infamous work, The Vision and the Voice. It wasn't theory, it was direct experience, a descent and ascent through realms of cosmic intelligence. Crowley treated the system not as an artifact of history, but as a living force, wild, intelligent, and dangerously divine. And yet, Enochian magic never became mainstream. It resisted simplification. It demanded reverence, perhaps because it was never meant for the masses. It was, and still is, a path for the few, those willing to look beyond symbols and stare directly into the abyss. Today, it lives on in whispers and rituals, practiced in quiet chambers and sacred circles around the world. Modern occultists still study Dee's intricate diagrams. Linguists marvel at the alien structure of the Enochian tongue. Psychologists debate whether it's a projection of the subconscious or a genuine channel to other realms. But no matter how it's approached, spiritually, intellectually, or symbolically, it refuses to be dismissed, because something in it still breathes. The language still sings through invocations. The 48 keys still echo in candlelit rooms. The Aethyrs still open for those who dare. And the shoe stone, it still reflects, but the reflection depends on who gazes into it. To some, it is a mirror of madness. To others, a portal to God. But to all, it is a mystery, a timeless system not meant to be merely studied, but experienced. Enochian magic is not dead. It never was. It waits, silent, powerful, and eternal, for those with the courage to speak the language of angels and listen for the voice that answers back. If this video resonated with you, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.